That's what it looks like when you're a bestie of Allah. Allah is going to give you a beautiful and an amazing status in front of yourself, in front of the people, in front of him. Like, come on now, come on. We gotta be besties with him, y'all. We gotta. Oh my god, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everybody. Welcome to or welcome back to my channel. My name is Fatima, and today we're gonna dive right into it. Today we're going to be talking about a topic that is near and dear to my heart. You can also see it in the caption below. How do you become a friend to Allah? How do you make Allah your friend? How do you get Allah to love you? I'm really excited to talk about this topic because I feel like so often we're told, to like worship the deen and not necessarily Allah. And what I mean by that is like a lot of times the physical aspects of being a Muslim are very like enforced. Not to say they're not important, they're definitely important. But I feel like a lot of times that's what the emphasis is put on and not necessarily Allah. Because at the end of the day, like praying your 5 daily prayers, fasting, being kind to people, you don't get the full benefit of any of that unless you have a connection with Allah. And so last year I was like, I want to make my life goal for me to go to Jannah. Because I remember I seen a video of this girl online talking about like how that was her life goal, and I was so shook, y'all, because I was like, oftentimes you hear people like when you ask someone, oh, what is your life goal? Or even if you're asked, what is your life goal? Is one of your life goals to go to Jannah? I mean, like obviously, but would you say that out loud? And I just thought it was so beautiful that she said that. So I was like, you know what? I love that energy. And hearing her story really inspired me because I was like, I want to make one of my life goals to become a friend of Allah. And you're probably thinking, Fatma, what does that mean? What does that look like? I don't know what you're talking about. I got you. Just watch this video all the way through. And if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and hit that button, inshallah. So before we get into it, I want y'all to literally take a second, calm down. I'm saying this mostly for myself, but also for y'all too. I want you to imagine a relationship that is so deep and so intimate with the creator of your soul that everything in your life then has a meaning after that. Every single thing. I know it's one thing to like say this out loud. It's another thing to experience it and the benefits that comes with it. So what we're going to do today, inshallah, is we are going to talk about Khalilullah, which is Ibrahim AS, y'all. Like, he is legitimately the GOAT. And I really want y'all to think about it for a second. Like, there's a reason why we make dua for him in every single salah that we make throughout the day. He is such a huge deal. Khalilullah literally translates in Arabic to friend of Allah. And I think that's so beautiful because like he was given this status for a reason. And I know we have so many different examples out there of what it means to be a friend of Allah, but like I want us to learn together what it means and how it looks like to be a friend of Allah, and like to apply the lessons in our own lives by walking through the story of Ibrahim as Allah tells us. And one thing about Allah is he's going to give us a blueprint. He's not going to just be like, these are the qualities I love. He's going to tell you the story of someone who's been through it, which I love so much, how he like revealed the Quran to us in such a beautiful and like expressive manner. Because honestly, like I know I'm going off topic a little bit here. How often is it that you remember a lesson that you're told when it's accompanied with the story of someone? Let's draw back to Ibrahim AS story. Over the course of this video, what we're going to do is we're going to go over different things that happened in Ibrahim AS life and pretty much talk about how he was a friend to Allah in those moments and how we can derive lessons from those to apply to our own lives, inshallah. I want y'all to leave this video with like practical things that you feel like you can do to implement into your life, inshallah, to become a bestie to Allah yourself, inshallah. With that being said, the first scene that we're going to talk about is, my bad y'all, my cat is rocking around Mac Mittens. Assalamu alaikum. Say hi to them before we begin. Assalamu alaikum. Okay, the first scene that I want to talk to y'all about is a scene in Surah Ash-Shu'ara where there's a conversation happening between Ibrahim AS and his dad. I'm going to read the translation to you, inshallah, and then we'll go into talking about what's up right after. Pretty much what happens in the scene is Ibrahim and his dad are going back and forth, and Ibrahim is trying to very lovingly talk sense into his father, who's ascribing partners to Allah. And so the conversation goes, narrate for them something of Ibrahim's story. He said to his father and people, "What are you worshipping?" "We're worshipping idols," they replied, "and we're utterly devoted to them." "But do they hear you when you call on them?" Ibrahim asked. "Do they bring you any good when you worship them, or cause you any harm if you neglected them?" "Not at all," they replied. "However, we found our ancestors doing like this also." "Have you taken a good look at what you've been worshipping?" Ibrahim asked. "Both of you and your ancestors before you? All of these things are my enemies except for the Lord of all the worlds. He's the one who created me, who's guiding me, and who provides me my food and drink. When I'm sick, He cures me. He's the one who will cause me to die and to bring me back to life. And He's the one who I hope will forgive my faults on the day of judgment." Y'all, I really want you to think about these verses. Do you see how much compassion this man had for his father and the people that he's speaking to? But even more so, like, do you hear about the way that he's talking about Allah? When you know someone, when you love someone, you know what they like, you know what they dislike, you know what makes them happy. You constantly think about them. It's kind of like, when you're in love romantically with somebody, like, they gonna be on your mind even after you pass the honeymoon phase. Because baby, I've been married 8 years, but I still think about my husband all the time. Like, we're past the honeymoon phase, but it's like, I'm thinking about how, what are we gonna eat for dinner tonight? I'm thinking about the trip that I want to go with with him on. I'm thinking about getting him a gift. I'm thinking about what he's gonna get me next. But it's like, this man is like on my mind enough for me to know that I love him, whether it's romantic, platonic, whatever. Same thing with our parents, same thing with our friends, same thing with anything that we love and occupies our time. The way that Ibrahim talks about Allah and what Allah has done for him is so beautiful, it's so sweet, and it's so intimate. You could tell this dude legitimately has a relationship with Allah and he actively thinks about Allah. And if there's anything that you take away from this specific scene that's shared with us, it's that you can have that same relationship too. Allah never mentions anything in the Quran unless it's for a reason. Right here, he is literally giving us the blueprint for how we should think, for how we should frame our perspective so we can get closer to him. He's the one who created me. We obviously know that. Who's guiding me and who provides me my food and drink. What does this look like? How can you implement this into your life? Maybe you acknowledge the sustenance has been provided for you. Because we live in a very capitalist society, it's very easy to attribute like what you have in your hands to like how hard you work. Like, yes, you put in the first step oftentimes, but Allah takes it the rest of the way, baby. He is the one who puts inspiration into our hearts for us to go after whatever it is that we're seeking after, whether it's good or bad. He is the one who provided us our limbs, our mental capacity. Like, the list literally goes on of how much Allah has provided for you to even be able to seek any means for yourself and or your family. And Ibrahim literally recognizes that. So the next time you're sitting there and you're like going to an interview and you're worried about whether you're gonna get the job or not, I want you to remember those people ain't gonna give you that job. Allah is the one who gives you the job. I remember leaving an interview in 2018 where I literally thought I bombed it, y'all. Like, it was a tech interview. There was like 4 or 5 people in the room. I didn't even expect them to be there. I thought I was gonna be interviewed by one person. And so what happened was, like, I didn't shake any of their hands. I was so nervous. Like, a bunch of other things happened where I was just like, oh my God, like that didn't go as I expected it to go. But after I left the interview, I told my mom, I was like, Mama, I don't think I got the interview, and I'm over here like bawling. And when I say I was bawling, it's not dripping down my nose, tears dripping down my face, baby. I was swollen and my face was red. And my mom, I remember telling her that, and she looked at me, she's like, Fatima, Allah's the one who gives you that job, not people. And I was like, damn, she's right. And I ended up getting the job, alhamdulillah. But one of the ways that we can really become friends to Allah is by recognizing in our everyday lives the moment that we can shift our perspective on certain things and try to put Allah into the equation. The next thing Ibrahim says is, when I'm sick, he cures me. He's the one who will cause me to die and bring me back to life. And he's the one who I hope will forgive my faults on the day of judgment. Do y'all see how he thinks so positively about Allah? He thinks so positively about Allah. And we know he's gonna go to Jannah. And although he wants good, we can see that he literally has hope in Allah. How often can we say that, like, when we're going through things, like, we kind of lose hope in Allah? Losing hope in Allah can look like when you're going through something, doubting that there's going to be a positive outcome for you. Because one thing about shaitan is he's not going to come to you and be like, go murder this person, go do that drug. Like, if you don't already have the natural inclination for that, he's going to come instead to you, get you to not see and believe in the capacity that Allah has given to you. He's going to try to make you hopeless. There's literally another verse in the Quran where Allah literally quotes a conversation between him and shaitan, where shaitan tells Allah that he's going to come to us from every side. Any side that he can come to us, he's going to try to come to us to make us ungrateful. But what do we notice about Ibrahim? He is very grateful. He is so grateful and he's so hopeful in Allah. So the next time you're going through something and you notice that you're losing gratitude or you're losing hope in Allah, like, I want you to ask yourself, like, literally ask yourself, what would Ibrahim do in the situation? Sometimes that might help you develop a deeper relationship with Allah. That's all I'm gonna say about these verses. Let's move on to the next story. I don't know if y'all can tell, but the sun is going down and I don't got that much light left. So I'm gonna try to hurry this up, but keep it quality for y'all. Okay, so the next story is in Surah Baqarah and it starts at ayah 260. It's basically Ibrahim and Allah having a conversation with each other, and I think it's such a wholesome moment and a beautiful example of how we can make dua and ask of Allah to give to us in a way that is like beautiful. The translation reads, even Ibrahim had once asked, my Lord, show me how you bring the dead to life. Allah replied, don't you believe that I can do it? Of course, answered Ibrahim. I'm only asking for my satisfaction. So Allah said, take 4 birds and train them to come to you when you call. Then divide them up, placing them on separate hills. Call to them and they'll come to you swiftly. In this lesson, know that God is powerful and wise. Y'all, Ibrahim is literally asking Allah himself, how do you bring anybody to life? Baby, he's not afraid to ask from Allah. How many times do we hold back on asking from Allah because we feel like we've sinned too much, or we feel like we haven't made enough tawbah, or we feel like, I don't know, whatever reason comes up to mind. Like, Allah literally answered the dua of Iblis, like literally. Allah is teaching us through Ibrahim's story that you can ask whatever you want of him. There's nothing too little to ask of him. I mean, obviously be within reason. Don't ask him to grow like a sixth finger for you, because why would you ask for something like that? But like, be delulu. I don't even want to call it delulu because it's not delulu. Be realistic in your du'as. Shoot as high as the sky. I remember hearing this creator named Jamila on TikTok talking about how she started asking Allah to show her how good life can be for her, to show her times of ease, to show how good that Allah can make life for her. Not because she didn't believe that Allah could do it, but because she believed that Allah could do it. And it would just affirm her belief in him. And I'm just like, baby, we could look Ibrahim AS, like he knew what he was doing. So the next time you want something from Allah, baby, it doesn't matter how big or how small, because let's also normalize making dua to Allah even in the small moments in our life. So like, for example, when you're going out, let's say for example it's snowing, raining, whatever, even if it isn't like a weathery situation, like make dua before you start driving to make sure Allah has your back. Here's the thing about it, like you can definitely learn specific dua, but you can also make dua in your own language. Be the lulu, baby. After this video, I'm gonna need y'all to pause, take a second. Actually, while I'm talking about this topic, I want y'all to go ahead and pause this video for like 5 minutes, even 2 minutes. Go ahead, pause this video, make your dua, whatever you've been wanting to ask Allah for, press pause. But please come back and watch the rest of this video, inshallah. Welcome back. I hope y'all went and made dua. So the next story that we're going to be talking about is in Surah Safat, ayahs 102 to 107. This is the story where Allah is replaying for us a moment in history where Ibrahim had a vision, essentially, of sacrificing his son. So let's go ahead and talk about it. Ibrahim prayed, "My Lord, grant me a righteous son." Then we gave him the good news of a resolute boy. When the boy was old enough to work alongside him, Ibrahim said, "My son, I saw in a dream that I offered you as a sacrifice. What do you see in that?" The boy answered, "My father, do what you've been ordered to do. You'll find that by God's will, I'll be patient." When they both resolved to submit to the ritual, Ibrahim laid his son bound and prostrate on his forehead. However, just as he was about to sacrifice him, we called out to him saying, "Ibrahim, you've already fulfilled the dream. That's how we reward the good." And this was clearly a difficult trial. Then we substituted in his son's place the substantial sacrifice of a ram. We left his story among the generations that followed after him. So peace be upon Ibrahim. That's how we reward the good, for he was one of our faithful servants. There's so many things to unpack here, but I really want y'all to peep the fact that like Ibrahim had a vision of sacrificing his son, and although Allah did not want him to do that, he didn't want him to do that. He wanted to make an example out of Ibrahim for us. As you see right here, he wanted to make an example out of Ibrahim literally for you and me. In this moment, Allah knew that we were going to be talking about the story of Ibrahim, and he knew that we'd be sitting here one day and talking about it. Allah allowed this to happen for Ibrahim, for us, for you and me here, sitting here literally watching this, because he knew that we would have something to learn from it. We see here a beautiful example of someone who is willing to jump when he is told to jump by the creator of his soul. And I think there's nothing more beautiful than that. And Allah mentions himself, like this is not something easy for Ibrahim to do. He knew it was difficult for him to do, but Ibrahim saw beyond that. He saw the amazing and beautiful benefit of closeness to Allah, of the reward that he could potentially reap. And his son too, like imagine how amazing of a son he had who would agree to something like that. Like he literally asked his son, he was like, "What do you think?" He basically asked his son, "What do you think about this?" His son was like, "You know what, go ahead. If Allah tells you to do something, you go ahead and do it. I'm gonna be patient." And that's such a beautiful example because there's very, very few things that we're kept away from doing in Islam. I want y'all to remember that. I don't know if y'all remember the story. I'm about to go off on a little tangent here, but I promise you I'm gonna bring it back. But y'all remember hearing the story of Adam alayhi and his wife, and thinking to yourself when you were growing up, like, how could they eat the fruit? Like, how could you eat it? You just had one job. Baby, we probably have like maybe 5 jobs at max. There's not that many things we're told not to do. But in the same vein, like we have the opportunity to get closeness to Allah just because there's certain things that we have to stay away from as Muslims. Lying, cheating, stealing, taking people's rights. Pretty much that's the biggest thing. When you're sinning, that's really what you're doing. You're either taking away a right Allah has above you, a right that you have above yourself, or a right that someone else or something else has above you. That's really what sins are. There's no sin that does not fall into one of those categories. But anyway, drawing back to the main point, like Allah is recognizing that there's certain things that he either wants you to do or he wants you to stay away from. It's not going to always be easy. And he even mentions it here when he's talking about Ibrahim and how this was a difficult decision for him and his son to come to. The life of this world is probably not always going to be hard, but it is going to be hard to some extent. But never believe that you don't have the capacity to stand up to the task. That's what Allah is telling us. When you're going through something, there's going to be difficulty in what you're going through, but just as much as there is difficulty in it, there's going to be ease that's going to accompany you along the way. And who is the source of that ease? Allah. And that's what we're learning from this lesson, y'all. Like The next time that you're going through something in this dunya, inshallah, like I want you to remember that Allah has put within you a beautiful and amazing capacity to get through whatever you need to get through. Allah knows what your potential is more intimately than you even know yourself. So He doesn't just tell you, hey, I want you to be a person who does this, I want you to be a person who does that. He puts you through an experience that literally like that proves that characteristic in you, that builds that characteristic in you. And I want y'all to not think about this in worldly terms. It's so easy to lose sight of the fact that this is not our final resting place. The fact that whatever you're going through in one single moment will not define your entire existence or your next life. Because really think about it, like for a second, take a moment and really think about the fact that we're not going to be here forever. We're not, wallahi, all of us are going to die. Every single one of us is going to die. And I'm not saying that with the intention of telling you, oh, like this life is not important. To a certain extent, this life is important, but we got to acknowledge the fact that we have a purpose that is much bigger than us, and Allah knows that, and He knows that we're able to fulfill it. And what form of confidence from an external source is better than from the one who created your soul? That's just so beautiful to me. And honestly, that's what this proves to us, because like Allah is literally telling us, like He put Ibrahim AS through what He put him through so that we can learn from that lesson as well. He preserved it for the rest of mankind to see. Alhamdulillah, wallahi, that's so beautiful. Like that's what it looks like when you're a bestie of Allah. Allah is going to give you a beautiful and an amazing status in front of yourself, in front of the people, in front of Him. Like, come on now, come on. We gotta be besties with Him, y'all. We gotta do this. We gotta do this together. Anyway, we're gonna keep it at those 3 stories for today, inshallah. If you want a part 2 to this, let me know and I will definitely give it to y'all. Let me know any other topics y'all want me to cover. Most importantly, like I want to relate everything back to Allah and the relationship that we can build with the one who made our soul. Because once you learn to love Allah and like worship Him as if you can see Him, I'm telling you, you and Allah will be like this. Let me give you an example. Let's say you want to be the type of person who holds people's secrets and other people are safe from your mouth. Someone has told you a secret, and in those moments after, you can like make yourself conscious and aware of the fact that someone has told you a secret, and it's literally your duty as a Muslim to keep it private. I mean, unless it's like life-threatening or something. In those moments after someone tells you a secret, I want you to think to yourself, oh my God, like alhamdulillah, Allah has given me the opportunity to like prove to Him, but also prove to myself that I am a trustworthy person. And like really think to yourself, oh my God, like I ain't telling nobody this. The reward that I'm going to experience in this dunya and the akhirah, right? Because in this dunya, the reward that you experience is knowing that you're a person who other people can be safe with. You can be a home to other people. We shouldn't be out here just going around telling people secrets, telling people business like that. That's another way that you can be a friend of Allah. Like y'all, like Allah gives us so many examples in the Quran, and like it's for a reason, baby. It's not just there for us to recite during prayer. It's literally the words of your creator. I want y'all to really like deep that and think about it. Anyway, we're gonna wrap this up. Inshallah, I got another video coming for y'all next week. If y'all want to give me more ideas of what videos y'all want me to cover, if you want a part 2 to this, let me know, drop it in the comments below. And please remember to subscribe and share this with anyone that you think will benefit from it, inshallah. May Allah make this a means of sadaqah jariyah for me, for you, for all of us. I love you guys. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next week, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.